I knew something was wrong when my husband took my phone out of my hand before I could answer it, not because Daniel was jealous, not because he was angry. Because the second he saw the number on my screen, every bit of color disappeared from his face. "Don't answer that number," he whispered. I laughed at first. It was Thanksgiving. My mother was in the dining room arguing with my brother about whether the turkey needed another 20 minutes. My sister was taking pictures of the table. My teenage daughter, Emily, was complaining that nobody had saved her any dinner rolls. It was supposed to be one of those ordinary family holidays where the biggest problem was who had forgotten the cranberry sauce. Then my phone vibrated again, the same number. Daniel looked at it. And this time he didn't look confused, he looked afraid. "Claire," he said quietly, "where did you get that number?" I didn't get it. "They're calling me, don't answer." "Daniel, who is it?" He didn't respond. Instead, he turned my phone face down on the kitchen counter. That scared me more than the call. Because my husband had been an FBI agent for 21 years, and I had learned something during our 19 years of marriage, Daniel didn't get nervous easily. When he did, there was always a reason. "Mom," Emily shouted from the dining room, "Grandma says Dad burned the rolls." "I did not burn them," my father shouted back. "You can smell them from the hallway," my mother laughed. For everyone else, Thanksgiving continued. For me, the room suddenly felt different. Daniel was standing beside the counter staring at my phone. "Tell me what's happening." "I can't. You just said you can't." "That's not the same as saying there's nothing happening." His eyes met mine. "Claire, please." That word stopped me. Daniel rarely said please when something involved his work. He usually said, "Trust me," or "It's complicated," or my personal favorite, "I can't discuss it." But this time he said please. Then my phone vibrated again. I looked down. A text appeared. "You shouldn't have married Daniel." My stomach dropped. I looked at my husband. He had seen it too. "Who is this?" I whispered. Daniel picked up the phone. Before he could say anything, another message appeared. "Ask your mother what happened in Baltimore in 1998. Daniel froze. I stared at him. "What happened in Baltimore?" He didn't answer. And suddenly I wasn't looking at my husband anymore. I was looking at a man who knew something about my family that I didn't. My mother had lived in Maryland her entire life. In 1998, I had been 17. I remembered that year because my parents had nearly divorced. My father disappeared for 3 weeks. My mother told everyone he was traveling for work. Years later, whenever I asked about it, she changed the subject. I'd assumed it was just one of those ugly pieces of a marriage that children weren't supposed to understand. Now a stranger was telling me to ask about it. "Daniel," he rubbed his forehead. "Your mother was involved in something back then." "Involved in what?" "I don't know enough yet." "You knew about it." "I knew there was an old case." My heart started pounding. "What case?" He looked toward the dining room. My family was laughing. Nobody knew, nobody except Daniel, and whoever was texting me. 28 years ago, he said quietly. There was a financial fraud investigation involving several families in Maryland, and my mother, she wasn't charged with anything. That wasn't my question. Daniel looked at me. Your mother's name appeared in the investigation. I felt like someone had opened a window in the middle of winter. What did she do? I don't know. Then why are you scared? His silence answered me. The phone vibrated again. This time the message was shorter. He knows what your father did. I looked at Daniel. What did my father do? Daniel didn't answer. Then my mother called from the dining room. Claire, sweetheart, come sit down. We're about to eat. I looked at Daniel. He shook his head. Don't. I ignored him. My mother was smiling when I walked into the dining room. Everything okay? I sat beside her. Mom, what happened in Baltimore in 1998? Her smile disappeared, not slowly. Immediately, my father stopped cutting the turkey. My brother looked between us. What kind of question is that? Mom asked. Just answer me. She looked at Daniel. That was the moment I knew. She wasn't surprised by the question. She was surprised that I knew to ask it. Where did you hear that? She asked. My phone. My mother glanced at Daniel. Then she whispered something I couldn't hear. What? She shook her head. Nothing. No, Mom. What happened? My father stood. Not today. I stared at him. Why not? Because it's Thanksgiving. I laughed bitterly. That's convenient. My phone buzzed again. Everyone heard it. I looked down. Your uncle still has the original account number. My brother went pale. I looked at him. Uncle Richard. He didn't answer. My mother stood so quickly that her chair scraped across the floor. Everyone needs to leave this alone. Daniel stepped forward. Evelyn, she turned toward him. You knew. Daniel didn't answer. My father stared at him. How much do you know? Daniel's expression hardened. Not enough. Then the front door opened. Nobody had heard the doorbell. My Uncle Richard walked inside. He looked at all of us, then he saw my phone, his face changed, and he said 4 words that I will never forget. "Who gave you that number? We didn't eat Thanksgiving dinner that year." Instead, we sat around my mother's kitchen table while Daniel made phone calls he wouldn't explain. My uncle kept saying he didn't know anything. My father kept saying it was ancient history. My mother kept crying and my brother kept looking at the window. That last part bothered me. Finally, I asked him why. He wouldn't answer, then my phone vibrated. I didn't even look at it. Daniel did, his jaw tightened. "What does it say?" I asked. He turned the screen toward me. "Ask Noah why he met me last Tuesday." Noah was my brother. He immediately stood. "I never met anyone." I stared at him. "Then how does this person know you?" "I don't know." Daniel stood too. "Where were you Tuesday?" Noah looked at him. "Work. Until what time?" 7. "Then where did you go?" Noah's face changed. He looked at my mother and I knew there was another secret. "Home," he said. Daniel stared at him. "Noah, I went home." "Who was there?" Noah didn't answer. My mother closed her eyes. "Richard," she whispered. My uncle looked up. "What?" "You need to tell them." He shook his head. "No." My mother started crying. My father slammed his hand on the table. "Enough." And that's when Daniel finally said the sentence that changed everything. "This isn't about the past anymore." Everyone looked at him. "Someone is using information from that old case to get close to your family." My throat went dry. "Why?" Daniel looked at me. "Because somebody believes your family still has the money." That night, Daniel finally told me what he could. The original 1998 investigation involved a financial network that had stolen money from elderly investors. Several people were prosecuted, but approximately $4 million was never recovered. The government believed the money had been moved through several accounts before disappearing. One account belonged to a company my father had worked with, another was connected to my uncle. And a third had been opened under my mother's name, but Mom didn't steal anything. "I know." "Then why was her name there?" "Because someone used her identity." I stared at him. "Who?" "We don't know." "Then why is someone contacting me now?" Daniel looked away. "Because the person contacting you knows where the missing money went." I felt a chill. "Where?" Daniel didn't answer. "Daniel." He finally looked at me. "Your father." I stopped breathing. "My father died 6 years ago." "I know, so how could he know where the money went?" "He couldn't." Daniel paused. "Unless he told someone before he died." At 2:13 that morning, I woke up to my phone vibrating. Daniel was asleep beside me. I reached for it. One new message. "Your father didn't steal the money." Another message appeared. "He hid it." Then another. "Your mother knows where." I sat upright. Daniel woke immediately. "What happened?" I showed him. He read the messages, then he got out of bed. "Stay here." "Where are you going?" "I'm calling my team." "Daniel." He stopped. I could see something in his face, something I had never seen before. Fear wasn't the right word, it was recognition. "You know who this is." He didn't deny it. "I think I do." "Who?" He looked at my phone. "Someone who shouldn't still be alive." The next morning my mother called me. She didn't say hello. She said, "Claire, you need to come here alone." I looked at Daniel. He shook his head. Mom continued, "Your father left something for you." "What?" "A key." "To what?" She started crying. "A safety deposit box." My heart began pounding. "Where?" "Baltimore." I looked at Daniel. He was already reaching for his jacket. Then my mother whispered, "Don't tell your husband." The line went dead. For the first time in 19 years, I didn't immediately follow Daniel's advice. I called him. "I think we're going to Baltimore." He stared at me. "Why?" I told him. He went silent. Then he said, "Because whoever is texting you wants you to find that box. And they're counting on us opening it." We went anyway. Not because we trusted the person behind the messages, because Daniel had finally understood something. The person contacting me wasn't trying to scare me away, they were leading me somewhere. At the bank, my mother had already arranged access. Inside the box was a small envelope. My father's handwriting was on it, for Claire. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was one photograph. My father, my mother, my uncle Richard, and another man, a man I had never seen before. Daniel looked at the photograph, then he froze. "Who is he?" I asked. Daniel turned the photograph over. There was a date, November 27, 1998, and underneath it, one sentence: "If anything happens to me, trust nobody who says the money is gone." My mother started crying. My uncle looked away. And Daniel whispered, "That's the man we've been looking for." I looked at him. "Who?" He pointed to the photograph. "The man texting you." 3 weeks later, the FBI arrested him. His real name wasn't the name he'd used when contacting me. He had spent years building identities, relationships, and financial connections. He wasn't trying to steal money from my family. He believed my family knew where millions of dollars were hidden, and the reason he knew so much about us was devastating. My Uncle Richard had been feeding him information for years. Not because Richard was part of the original fraud, because he had been desperate. His business was collapsing. He believed the missing money could save him. He had contacted the wrong person. And that person had spent years slowly getting closer to our family. The Thanksgiving phone call wasn't random. Neither was the mysterious number. Neither was the message about Baltimore. He had chosen me because he knew Daniel would recognize the danger. He wanted Daniel involved. He wanted us frightened enough to open the safety deposit box, and he almost succeeded. But he made one mistake. He underestimated how much my mother had remembered, because inside the photograph was one more clue, a bank account number, the original account. The one that proved where the missing money had gone. It wasn't in my father's name. It wasn't in my mother's. It was in the name of the man who had been texting me. And that evidence finally connected him to the entire scheme. Months later, Thanksgiving came around again. My mother refused to host. She said she was tired of cooking for people who complained about turkey, so I hosted. Daniel sat beside me. Emily was 23 now and still complained about the rolls. My brother brought dessert. My uncle didn't come. That part was still complicated. Some wounds don't close just because the police make an arrest. After dinner, Daniel reached for my phone. I immediately pulled it away. He laughed. "Relax, you have a history." He shook his head. Then my phone buzzed, one unknown number. We both looked at it. Daniel's smile disappeared. I stared at the screen. There was one message, "Happy Thanksgiving, Claire." My heart stopped. Then another message appeared, "You never found the second account." I looked at Daniel. He stood. "Don't answer." This time I didn't laugh, because somewhere across the country someone was still watching us. And this time they knew something we didn't. I turned my phone face down. Daniel took my hand, and for the first time in 19 years I realized something. Sometimes the most dangerous secret isn't the one someone is hiding from you. It's the one they're waiting for you to discover. And Thanksgiving taught me that I would never again assume the person sitting across the table was simply family.